Welcome to The Backlash. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves. Thank you for joining us today. As always, I am joined by Mr. Dave Riley. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
How are you? How was your weekend?
It's good. Enjoying the September weather. You can find us on X. Wait, did I say September? It's October 5th.
It's October. Get with the times.
I know.
Get
I'm
with the
sorry.
program.
I'm very tired. My wiener kids. You can find us on X at Real Backlash, our website, thebacklash.net. Support us on subscribestar.com/thebacklash, patreon.com/thebacklash. Send your super chats that will be read live for our guest of honor at the end of our show, thebacklash.net/superchat. Follow us on YouTube at Real Backlash, Rumble at Backlash Podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. All of our links are on our website, thebacklash.net. You can find where to sub to us, /subscribe. I think that's it. I think we did it all. A big thanks to our sponsors. Atlas Bullion, premier dealer of gold and silver, North Idaho tallow. They will give you skincare that does not disrupt your endocrine function.
There you go.
And Antelope Hill, the people that will publish anything. Without further ado, Dave.
Yes.
You want to intro our guest?
Yes. Hold on. I'm like doing technical stuff.
I
do all the technical stuff while you're making the intros. Anyway, our guest today is Mr. Daniel McAdams. He is the executive director of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. He's the co-host of the Ron Paul Liberty Report. And he previously served as the Foreign Affairs Advisor and a senior staff member to Congressman Ron Paul from 2001 until 2012. He's also spent some time working in Hungary, in Budapest, so he knows what's going on in Europe, in America. His finger's on the pulse. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks so much for having me on. I'm really happy to join you.
Awesome.
So I binge watched your interviews with Judge Napolitano this week, and I heard you say that you view the Constitution as an excellent PR tool. And I thought that was an interesting perspective. We often talk about the Constitution and how we moved from constitutional conservative to wherever we are on the right now because the Constitution has failed to protect us in a meaningful way. I was hoping you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, the Constitution is used by whoever's in power to do whatever they want to do to us, whether it's according to the letter of the law or not. You know, the Constitution was written to be the law of the land. I mean, it's a law, just like you can't drive through a red light. You know, but when you have when the Democrats get in, they use their interpretation and they tell you it means this, and the Republicans come in and they do something the opposite or something actually very near what they do, but with their own spin on it, and they say this is what the Constitution. Everyone is a constitutionalist in Washington, D.C. The only thing missing is the actual Constitution itself, you know, and the concept of federalism, you know, and that's all gone by the window. So, yes, it's used as a PR weapon by the political class in the U.S.
Do you advocate for us to return to constitutional values or to uproot the system? I mean, I don't want to speak for Dave, but we both have kind of come to the conclusion that we're going to have to work outside of the system in order to achieve our goals as a movement.
Well, I endorse secession. And if it's not, whether it's states, that's fine too. Whether it's regions, that's fine too. There's a lot of really interesting things going on out there in the West. My former stomping grounds of, you know, parts of states wanting to secede. But it also can be your communities. It also could be just your own household to secede as much as you can from what's out there that's harmful to your families and to your communities and to your states. So it's a little bit more esoteric to point that out. But, you know, I've done it in a religious context. To be honest, I don't want to go there if we're not ready to go there. But I gave a series of talks about how I'm happen to be a practicing Roman Catholic, and I've given a lot of talks about how Catholics should divorce themselves from the state to very mixed reviews, I might say, because these are mostly conservatives and traditionalists. But I called it the evil empire, why American Catholics must oppose the state. So that's, I think, whether you're a Christian or not, what have you. But this idea of secession, I think, is so important.
We're both Catholic. Something that was troubling that has happened in the last few years that I'm sure you're aware of is how FBI agents became entrenched within traditional Catholic churches and have monitored them, infiltrated them in very astonishing ways. How can we secede meaningfully if the federal government is clearly not going to allow us to do that?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's a problem. I mean, it's a long, hard process. And we also have to convince a lot of other people to join us. Thankfully, we don't have to convince 50% plus one, because once you reach a critical mass, things will go in your direction. But it is very difficult. And the government that has the power to do things like that, to put people on watch lists, to put whole churches on watch lists. I guess if you're sitting there in church and someone says, let's go overthrow the government, well, you know, that's probably the Fed. Right? In your midst. That's always the case. Hey, let's do this, let's do that, let's storm the Capitol. Okay, there's your Fed, right then and there. So yeah, it is very difficult, and they've got all the tools to use against us. But that doesn't mean, you know, we should stop trying, that we should oppose it. And I think, in fact, in the case that you're talking about, just the fact that we brought that to light made it to be an example of federal overreach, and people will bring that up. Even people who don't like Catholics will bring that up and say, this is crazy, you know. So it actually rebounded and became, I think, a benefit to us, at least in terms of rhetoric.
Yeah, no, I think I completely agree with you. I just had it up on the screen. Do I still have it? Yeah, we covered this, or no, I covered this. I went on a different podcast called The Rundown, which is like a Catholic podcast based here in North Idaho. And we went over the whole House Judiciary Committee report, because they illegally spied on a priest. They contacted MI6 and the counterterrorism unit in London to open an investigation into an American citizen that the FBI was not authorized to do. And so they used MI6 and British intelligence to get around that. It was really, really messed up. And you know, here in Idaho, I wasn't going to bring it up, but now I am. It's working. We had over the weekend, I've got some video here. We had like 1,000 Catholics or so that showed up, and we did a nice rosary procession around City Park and Coeur d'Alene. It was, hold on, let me see. Can I skip so you can get a size of the crowd? It was absolutely massive. Probably the biggest one that we've had, I think, in about 5 years. And it's a far cry from where we were, because I remember in 2022, a gay pride group reported a rosary procession in Coeur d'Alene. and started
Reported.
they started to investigate me. So anyway, it's nice that I feel like the boot has been lifted from the neck a little bit. But what is your take on all of this stuff that's been going on? Community Relations Service has been defunded. The FBI does seem like there's something happening internally there. Are you optimistic, or do you think that most of this stuff is just a show for the MAGA base or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the MAGA base is our friends necessarily. I mean, there may be some tactical alliances, but they've shown that they like to use power in an unconstitutional and abusive way, just as much as the libs did when they did it, and that's the case. I mean, that's why I really believe the only solution is to shrink the size of government. I mean, if only trads were as rad as the FBI claims they are, that would be nice. But I like that public display. In my old church, St. Athanasius, near Washington D.C., we had quite a few of those every year, and it was always nice to do that. Of course, back in Hungary, it was a little bit different because the entire town would come out, and I spent some time in Sopron, which is the western part of Hungary, and the entire town shuts down, and everyone goes to the streets. It was I forget the feast. Maybe it was the Assumption, where rose petals were spread in front of the procession. Beautiful, beautiful thing. It's always nice to see that sort of thing.
Yeah. Now we are coming up on the 2-year anniversary of October 7th, and so I think a lot of our people, we already kind of know. We were following along from the beginning. There's a lot of people that tune into the show. They hate watch the show just because of how much they hate what we have to say. But I guess I was curious if you could kind of give a little bit of a rundown of like what we have learned in the wake of October 7th, what actually happened that day, what can be proven. Were there 40 beheaded babies? Were there mass rapes that were committed? And then what have we started to see as the fallout for this as we approach this 2-year anniversary?
Well, thanks to the brave work of people like Max Blumenthal in the Gray Zone, we know that the whole thing was the Hannibal Directive, where you just start killing your own people. And it was pretty obvious from the very beginning that that's what was going on. But of course, just like after 9/11, you weren't able to say anything that went outside the accepted narrative, or you'd be drummed out of polite society. But when you had a bunch of guys parachuting in on lawn chairs with AK-47s, and then you look over and you see an entire parking lot of cars completely burned to a crisp, well, no AK-47 that I know would do that. I mean, so it's very clear. And the other point, not to rehash these old things, because I'm sure your audience knows it very well, but when you have the most tightly controlled and compacted and surveilled part of the entire world, would make East Germany or North Korea look like an open society. But when you have this and it still takes hours upon hours for any sort of response, you do have to start scratching your heads and wondering, well, maybe this was a setup for a particular reason. And then you ask what happened in the 2 years that followed, and you see the absolute destruction. Here we go. This is the AK-47s don't do this, guys.
No.
When you see the total destruction and annihilation and genocide in Gaza, Christians and Muslims, then you can see that you can certainly at least surmise that there was a reason for all of this to happen. And it was to give the green light for the final solution to the Palestinian problem.
Wow. Now, I had a kind of a wild experience over the weekend. I went to a buddy's house to smoke a cigar, and his boomer mother came out. And so she was hanging out on the porch with us. And the anti-Semitic shit that came out of her mouth was unbelievable. And total normie, total MAGA, rah-rah Donald Trump up until the election.
Amongst normie conservatives.
And it shocked me. I mean, talking about, well, yeah, you saw they were trafficking kids in the tunnels, didn't you? And it's like, holy shit, what happened to the boomer MAGA moms? Because they've blown right past us, and they are hanging out in crazy territory. So I was curious, from your perspective at the Ron Paul Institute, being among, I would think, a little bit more polite circles than us.
Oh, that's not true.
What are you seeing happening among the conservative base and among, I guess, patrons of the Ron Paul Institute as far as this awakening goes?
Well, definitely people who support us understand that we stand for Dr. Paul's principles, which is no entangling alliances, regardless of where they are. Now, these days, the number one entangling alliance is the U.S. and Israel. And so there will be a tendency, and this is, of course, one of the tools they use to keep us from talking about it, is that excessive focus on this means that you're anti-Semitic. And actually, Max Blumenthal put out a funny post on X the other day, when a new poll came out showing that a very large percentage of American Jews oppose Israel and oppose what they're doing. He said, well, I guess most Jews in America are also anti-Semitic because they take this position. But certainly there's a massive split on the right, and that's where it counts, I think, because you had, as you point out, it was definitely generational. You had this generational appeal, or this lock that the evangelicals had on a good chunk of America. And I think that you're seeing that completely split open, not only just in general among conservatives, but even among evangelicals, you're seeing a big split. You see the rise of, you see people like Chuck Baldwin, Pastor Baldwin, who have been very outspoken. There are many more like him. At the time, he was the outlier, but now he's pretty much, getting toward the mainstream. Every poll, and we cite this all the time on the Liberty Report, but every poll you're seeing about conservatives and Republicans, starting in the spring of this year, has shown a massive shift away from support for Israel. Yes, it's generational, but it's across the board as well. A new poll came out. It was a Pew poll, I think, that came out over the weekend. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was something like 59% of Americans in total oppose Israel. And the numbers are they're just astonishing. 59%, yes. 59% opposed to Israel in the United States. I never thought, I've been around for a while, unfortunately, but I never thought I would see things shift this quickly.
Right. This is manifesting in some troubling ways, though. We've talked a lot about Charlie Kirk since this happened, and amongst our own circles that include a lot of normies, we saw some people go turbo conspiratorial on the Charlie Kirk thing, and they immediately were like, this is Mossad. This is Mossad. Now, we've talked a little bit about this. Like, I personally don't think that it was. But are you also seeing people use situations like Charlie Kirk to express their distaste with Israel? And how should we, as a movement, be really prioritize focusing on what is true rather than what is going to further us on the dissident right?
Well, there is always a rush to benefit yourself, your political, position from any tragedy that happens. It's happened throughout history. My one counter argument to that would be that all the conspiracy theories of the past 20 years have all come true. So if you're betting on the conspiracy, you probably have good reason. I think a better question would have been to ask, and this is what I try to do, because there were some people who've been consistently critical of Israel who just said they did it. And I don't know who did it, but my position was to ask the question, well, who benefits, who has the means, and who has the motives? Well, Israel has shown its propensity to assassinate anyone it believes are its enemies, including Americans like Rachel Corrie, who they murdered in broad daylight. They've assassinated hundreds, if not thousands, of engineers and scientists in places like Iran and elsewhere. They're not even afraid to fire missiles into Iran to assassinate people or into Iranian territory. So do they have the motive and means? Yes, they absolutely do. If it's true, and I didn't follow Charlie Kirk as well as many others did. I knew how powerful he was and influential he was. But if it's true, as some people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owen, people who apparently knew him fairly well, if as they were saying that he was turning away from his extremely pro-Israel position and starting to wonder, which every normal person I think would do when they looked at Gaza, then I could see that was a very, very good motive to silence him. So do we know that they did it? No. But have they proven that they can do things like this and they don't care where you come from? Yes, they've even said it openly. So I think it's an open door. It's an open question. Yeah,
and that's like to say nothing about what happened in Doha. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? They bombed Qatar. Mm-hmm. And then,
they bombed the negotiators.
They bombed the negotiators.
Negotiate. We'll kill you.
Oh my God. Now, maybe you'll know this. I had somebody over the weekend trying to tell me that Donald Trump forced Bibi Netanyahu to call Qatar and apologize. Did that happen?
I don't know. Would it really matter though?
Not really, but it is kind of funny.
I doubt he would.
Yeah, he did. He did. It was during a meeting, but it's like everything with Netanyahu. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
it's like everything with Netanyahu and Trump. It's all performative. I mean, it's all like, oh, I'm really mad at Bibi. I'm really going to give him what for this time, and then nothing happens. He just said it over the weekend. Oh, he's always so blanking negative. And then everyone says, oh, Trump is finally starting to look out for America first. But nothing happens because of it. This is all a PR push. And the sad part is that Trump understands that this is bringing down his popularity in a big way among people that truly are America first. Yet he can't seem to be able, for whatever reason, now there might be some conspiracies there, but for whatever reason, he can't seem to bring himself to just simply, you don't have to turn against him. You just have to say, stop. You need to put a stop to it. There's no more weapons, no more bullets, no more bombs coming to you. That's it. It's done. That's all you have to do, as we would do with any other country that's doing the same thing. But he can't seem to be able to do that.
He's also unable to do that with Ukraine. I was curious. I think you've been following the war in Ukraine probably closer than I have. I've just kind of checked out. It's like, he said he was going to end it in 24 hours. I like that. I pulled the lever.
And then we're talking Tomahawk missiles.
I got the Fell For It Again award.
I did not.
Which you could get at AntelopeHillPublishing.com. But, sorry, I had to do the shameless plug. But, so we gave Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. This is what I'm hearing now?
We said it's not off the table.
Okay. So what would happen if Ukraine used Tomahawk missiles against Russia? What would happen next?
I think it depends on the target. If it hit in the middle of Red Square, I think there'd be a big problem. Tomahawks, from what I understand, I'm not a weapons expert, but I don't believe there's any platform that can ground fire a Tomahawk missile. So I just wonder how the heck they're going to fire them. The F-16s get shot down every time they go up in the air. I think this is kind of more theater. If you remember, if you followed it, the Wonder weapons started from almost day one. We have to give them the Javelin missiles. That'll win the war. Nope, that didn't happen. We got to give them the Bradley tanks. That'll win the war. Nope, didn't happen. Down and down and down the line. The HIMARS, that'll do it. Nope, didn't happen. F-16, that'll do it. Nope, didn't happen. The Storm Shadows, nope, didn't happen. This is how it's going on and on. Now it's a Tomahawk. It's basically Charlie Brown and Lucy. We keep falling for this whole idea that this will change it. No, it's not going to change the tide. It doesn't. It's not rocket science. If you are a country that's like a tenth the size in terms of population, in terms of industrial output, in terms of modernization and sophistication, you're not going to win against the other country that's 10 or 100 times the size of you. It's just not going to happen. It's easy. Anyone could have predicted it.
Ukrainian media sources, they're 90% funded by the United
USAID,
States.
right?
Yeah. So do you believe that Donald Trump is actually getting faulty information? I mean, it seems to me that he should have superior information than the media sources that we're funding. Like, I find it hard to believe, even just him using his common sense, which I know he doesn't have a lot of, that he would not see that this is an unwinnable war for Ukraine.
Well, there's two things coming into play here. The first of all is Trump's ego. And I think that's the reason why, as you said earlier, when we started out, it was very positive. It's not my war. I'm going to end this war. Which if he would have listened to people who actually knew how to do these things, the answer would have been just stop funding it. It'll be over very soon. They'll understand this is unsustainable without U.S. backing. But his ego didn't allow him to do that. He wanted to be the big peacemaker on the scene. And that was very unfortunate that he did that. But the fact of the matter is, this is not a war that can be won no matter what we do. And we're out of weapons, by the way. We shot off at least 25% of our THAAD missiles, helping our buddies Israel when they decided to do a sneak attack on Iran. So we're running out of weapons. We don't produce a lot of weapons. We're backing a losing horse, and it would have been very easy just to walk away from it.
Right. Younger generations, especially since October 7th and the Ukraine war and Iran, they are overwhelmingly, genuinely anti-war, not in the way that Republicans often purport to be. But I think the era of Lindsey Graham is over. And although I don't believe that we have an inter-party solution to help us, what do you think is the fate of the Republican Party? Do you think that they're going to adopt these new ideologies that are coming through younger generations?
It could happen that way. I mean, you could see the rise of a third party, but that's really very, very difficult to have happen. You could see apathy. You could see even nihilism if it gets that far. But you're absolutely right. I think the support is completely gone in the younger generation for this, and that's like one of the few positive things I've seen in the last 5 years that is happening. But the genie's out of the bottle. You can't put it back in. What are they going to do? They're not going to vote Republican. Young people are. They're not going to. You can sell everything to Larry Ellison, the entire world to Larry Ellison, and have it rammed down their throat, and they're not going to buy it. That's one of the few benefits, I guess, one of the several benefits of the internet generation is people just look it up. You can look it up. It's probably why they want to control AI, so you can't just look it up. But young people, they're able to look it up, and they're not going to buy it. So where are they going to go politically? I don't know. I mean, it would be nice to see the Republican Party or the Democrat Party actually become an anti-war party. But both of them are so sclerotic. They're so, full of parasites and all of these horrible cruddy things that who knows if they could ever be cleaned out.
Now I see you have a tweet up here. Gee, I wonder who runs Paramount. And so that kind of segues a little bit into this Larry Ellison thing. They're going to be, I guess, coming out with a fictionalized version of October 7th that they're releasing tomorrow or something. Propaganda. Obviously, there was no video of the beheaded babies because that did not happen. There was no video of mass rapes. That did not happen. These were all fabricated reports. And so now we've, of course, got this massive merger. The chubby lesbian, what's her name? Barry Weiss.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Now taking over CBS, this giant merger deal with Paramount, the TikTok takeover that's happened. Do you think that these Jews are going to be able to get the narrative back? Or do you think the cat's out of the bag forever? Where do you think we go from here? Because, are we looking at censorship laws, hate speech laws, or has that boat sailed?
It can get to that. I mean, it already is in a way. I mean, look what's happening on college campuses. They tried to suppress speech by, adopting this new definition of anti-Semitism, which includes criticism of Israel. And that's one of the interesting things that this new poll that came out showing that most American Jews are opposed to Israel. As Max Blumenthal said, that means we're all anti-Semites now, according to this new definition. So they can't do that. You mentioned boomer earlier. Basically, Israel's PR machine is a boomer-based system. And even when they have young people doing it, I don't know if you saw this young influencer. I'm going to give you a tour of Greta Thunberg's yacht that she was sailing on. And it's there's narcotics here, there's condoms here. And it's like, whoa, wow, what are they doing? And immediately it was ripped apart. And now that we learned, thanks to our friends over at Responsible Statecraft, the $7,000 per post, now that's become a meme in itself. And so anytime something pro-Israel is posted on X that's over the top, someone will throw in a meme saying, you got your 7,000. And so it's just a huge backlash now, and they don't know how to fix it. They can buy as much as they want, but they don't know how to fix it. It's gone.
Yeah. No, and they're also they're switching up. We've seen here in Idaho, we had this thing, was it 2 weeks ago that happened, the 50 States One Israel conference. And word is now coming out that this trip was actually paid by the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs directly. Like a lot of times they will have churches or some sort of nonprofit that will pay to bring legislators over. This is the first time that the state of Israel itself got legislators from every single state and brought them over. There's been some FOIA requests, I guess, that have come out about this, showing that all of these different entities had to be registered as a foreign, what is it called? A foreign agent. And so, anyway, these are some of these.
They do it with media
FOIA
figures
requests
as well. Megyn Kelly, who has spent her life being a Zionist stooge and has recently kind of tepidly come out against Israel. I heard her say that she has never been invited, kind of forcefully, to go to Israel more than she has in the last 6 months to a year.
Wow.
People are just hounding her to get over there. I think they want the, kiss the wall moment to discredit her because she's picking up steam. Her career is very strong right now. Have you had any offers?
Israel, I was going to say the thing about Israel bringing over these lawmakers is that they're not paying for it, even though we say they pay for it. We're paying for it.
Right.
The U.S. taxpayer is paying for it because we give them especially these last few years after October 7th, that seems kind of a big windfall for them, because we've multiple times what we've been giving them, we give them now. And you could say, well, yeah, but you don't give it directly to the Foreign Affairs Ministry to bring over lawmakers, but money is fungible. All of that aid that we give them is fungible. They don't have to fund this, so they can fund this. So we are at very least indirectly paying for our own lawmakers, American members of state houses, to be propagandized. We're paying for them to be propagandized. And that, of course, is true on the federal level. The first thing that happens when you get elected to a federal office, to the House or the Senate, is you get your trip. And, Thomas Massey did a great interview with Tucker Carlson a few months ago about that. You get your trip, you get to go there, and you get a little thing that you have to sign, and you have to do your homework, and you have to have your APAC minder. All of those things are very familiar to me in my, 12 or so years on the Hill. It's just now that it's coming out and you can actually talk about it without having to shut up. The days of Pat Buchanan, who was drummed out of polite society for saying that Capitol Hill is Israel-occupied territory, that's pretty mild nowadays from what you can say.
Yeah, and I know the same treatment was given to Cynthia McKinney. People have forgotten about her, man. She got thrown under the bus so hard. And it's just incredible to see how vindicated that she's been, and obviously Dr. Paul, Pat Buchanan. I mean, it's
painful to be an early adopter, though, and we should be grateful for their sacrifice.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was actually, I think, Ron Paul that actually kind of started to wake me up for this. I mean,
me too.
The 2012 Relove thing that he was doing, that was hugely impactful. And it's actually funny, having worked in politics and stuff like that, Ron Paul is kind of like a dog whistle. It's like, oh, you're Ron Paul guy. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. And that comes with this whole series of assumptions, which is great.
How do you think libertarianism, not necessarily philosophically, but with the group that associates itself with libertarianism, has changed, especially over the last few years? Because when I was a libertarian in college, it was all about marijuana. It was just, we were into normal, and that was our cause. And we hated the federal government, but we didn't really know very much about politics. And as millennials, that's kind of the association. We did all love Ron Paul for various reasons, and he's been so important to my political evolution. But over the last few years, I'm seeing a lot of Dave Smith style libertarians, and it seems like the movement has changed a lot in the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, I came to Dr. Paul a lot earlier. I'm a previous generation. I came in the late 90s because I was opposed to the U.S. attack on Yugoslavia, and I recognized there was a member of Congress who happened to be Republican who was opposed to it as well. But when I went to work for him, and I've told the story before, but he asked me if there's anything, because I really have never considered myself libertarian per se, but he asked me if there's anything, one of his positions that I didn't agree with, and I sort of came from the right. I said, yeah, I'm the drug stuff, because I hate drugs, and I'm for the drug war. And he said, well, just take your time, study it as much as you can. You'll probably come around to our view, which is true. And his view, as he said so many times, is he doesn't support using marijuana or heroin. He doesn't support using alcohol, but he doesn't think people should go to jail for doing it. And so you can be morally opposed to something that you think is harmful, but if it's a victimless crime, then you don't want the government to put this person in a cage for 5 or 10 years, especially if you're a minority. If you get, you could get caught with I don't know how, if maybe it's better now, you get caught with a little bit of marijuana and you're black, boom, you're in for 20 years or something. It's a serious issue. So I think that has appealed to a lot of people. That was the appeal of libertarianism. But the question is, how has it changed? I think it's also fractured. And you talk about people like Dave Smith, who's a friend of mine, and he's gone more socially conservative. And the Reason crowd has always stayed very socially liberal. But I think there are, just as with conservatives, even in liberals, there are, and this is sort of the founding principle of the Ron Paul Institute. We're not a libertarian organization. We're an organization that brings together people and ideas from as many diverse places as possible to agree on a few basic things, which is no U.S. empire, no intervention overseas, protection of civil liberties at home. So we have, just on our board, we have people like Dennis Kucinich from the left. We have former Representative John Duncan on the right, and everything in between. So I think there can be great coalitions of people, as long as we may have, I have my personal views about abortion that might not be appropriate for discussion with someone else who I want to work with on the anti-war issue. So we have to know when and where to have what kinds of conversations.
I have a hard time with that. I do, but
well, I mean, the thing is, it's like, can we get the CIA thrown in jail, please? Because like that's who was doing all the drug trafficking in the 70s, the 80s, you know, for their black ops and all of this stuff. So it's like we're punishing people for using drugs, but we're like using them to like fund CIA black ops to like kill Gary Webb. Like, come on, like this is, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of torn on the whole thing, but it is interesting to see the was it Young Americans for Liberty? Now, have you been following them? The Young Americans for Liberty was actually a political PAC that was started, from what I understand, to kind of like support Dr. Paul. And recently, let me see if I can pull up the tweet. Recently, they've been meddling here in Idaho, and it's been kind of problematic. Brian Lenny has a tweet out today. Yeah, here it is. How do you feel about some of your Idaho legislators getting trained by Texas libertarians? And this is specifically in relationship to Young Americans for Liberty, who've been coming up in Idaho, and they've been not only supporting like the drug marijuana legalization thing, but they've been attacking conservatives that are not pro-Israel enough. And they've been doing it under the guise of calling them you're establishment. You got donuts from the Speaker of the House. Like you got bought off. And it's like conspicuously every single one of their targets isn't taking the trips to Israel, isn't putting forward hate speech laws and stuff like that. But then you get people like Barbara Ehart, Josh Tanner, John Schertz that are all taking the trip, and the Young Americans for Liberty are totally silent on that. So do you know anything about this group and what has happened there? Were they taken over or something?
Well, I don't know the specifics of their activities in Idaho, or overall, really, because they're more involved in campaigns and we're more involved in education. But I know their origin was students for Ron Paul from his 2012 run. Maybe it was the 2008 run, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't follow, and I don't know enough about candidates anymore. I used to know everyone in the House, by face and by name, but those days are gone. Certainly in state races, I don't know very much about it. So it's hard to know what the criteria is for it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of electoral politics, to be honest with you. I haven't voted in a really long time. So, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully there's a better explanation. I mean, if you get bought off by a bag of donuts, that's pretty sad. I mean, I'll take the $7,000 from BB. I was joking.
Yeah, for real.
I do about 100 posts a day. So if BB wants to give me $7,000 per post, I might change my position. Just for a couple of weeks, and I'll go to confession.
I said the same thing of like, I need a new deck. I want a Cybertruck.
Where's our Israel money?
Come on, man.
They wouldn't touch us with a 10-foot pole.
There's no way.
I did have a few questions about free speech. So for years and years, all of us have been advocating for absolute unfettered free speech. During the wake of this Charlie Kirk thing, I mean, Dave and I went on a personal campaign to get people fired for the Charlie Kirk thing.
I think we got 3.
I did.
I think we got 3.
And so I was getting a lot of people in my DMs like, you claim to be for free speech, but this is so hypocritical, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, there are consequences for the outcomes of your speech. And I do believe that we're in a war and there should be retribution. Do you have any opinions on this? Where do you draw the line between free speech? I mean, I think we can all agree that the concept of hate speech does not exist.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I mean, there are repercussions. I mean, for abusive speech, you can get fired from a job. I mean, everyone approaches it their own way, I suppose. I wouldn't really try to get someone's livelihood taken away from them because they said a knuckleheaded thing, because that would probably mean about 80% of America would be out of work. But everyone approaches it their own way. But people did say some really astonishingly distasteful things, even if you didn't care for Charlie Kirk. And I had a lot of problems with Charlie Kirk when I thought he was super pro-Israel.
Us too.
And I said a lot of nasty things about him because I thought he was on the payroll. And turns out he kind of was, but he was kind of turning away. So there are repercussions, and if you're especially if you're like us, we're out there in our, we're not hiding behind anonymity on X, and so what if I were to say something really bringing discredit upon my boss, whether it was in the House or now, someone would find out and tell me, and it would come out. So, it's just a question is how far you want to go in it, and everyone has to make their own decision on that.
Yeah.
I want scalps.
Yeah. I think from where I'm coming from, when I got canceled in August of 2017. This was before Covington Catholic happened. This was before the Tucker Carlson Fox News boycott. This was before cancel culture was even a word.
We had no help back then.
People didn't even know. It's like, no, the newspaper called you a Nazi. You're a Nazi. And it's like, what planet am I living on? Hello. And so, I remember when I had my radio show back in 17, I had to turn in my resignation in a fucking bulletproof vest.
That is so paranoid.
It was crazy. There were news stations camped outside my house. They were camped outside the radio station. There was about 75 Antifa busting from Philly. And
wow, nothing would happen now if this happened today. No, I say stuff on Twitter now that's 100 times worse than whatever I said back in 2017. I was supporting Charlie Kirk back then. I was like going up on Bloomsburg University posting the Professor Watch List posters. See, okay, we had to deal with this in 2016. I'm sure you got a lot of that too. We should have no mercy on these people.
I don't think
so. Mercy. I want my scalps. I want my vengeance. And I have a hard time controlling.
But the thing is, once they come back, if they happen to get more power than they had last time, they're going to be 10 times as bad on you. So I don't know. I don't know the answer. But for me, I worry because the beast you unleash could certainly come back to bite you.
Yeah.
That's true. But I'm not seeing any evidence that they are tempering their evil tendencies, irrespective of my behavior. I think that they're going to come after me 10 times harder no matter what I do. It's just the people that they are. They're relentless.
Well, I guess my question is what do you think about, I think most people are getting to the point where they're finally recognizing that the Israel relationship is probably the most important issue that we have to deal with in America right now. But there is this kind of counter narrative about combating the left. So what are your thoughts on the left-right fight that we have in this country? Do you think that that's something that we should bridge the gap on and try to find ways to unify with, even liberals that we would, disagree with, let's say 90% of everything, but maybe they're correct on the Israel thing? Or do you think it's like a distraction, the left-right fight, or do you think it's meaningful?
Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think tactical alliances are one way to go, and there are ways that we can agree with people that we don't agree on everything else. I really don't understand what the left-right means anymore. It doesn't make much sense to me anymore. I was my first vote was for Ronald Reagan. That shows how long ago it was. And it wasn't until Pat Buchanan opened my eyes in the mid '90s that I realized that there was another Republican Party. There's another kind of conservatism that was very, very different, and that appealed to me in much more than the original or than the neocon view. So, what is the left and what is the right nowadays? I don't know. For me, I've squared the circle by saying the only thing that I think will benefit us is if government's reach and strength is diminished, and anything I can do to diminish that. Across the board in terms of culture, politics, economics, what have you, entertainment, news, and to prevent this pattern that we've had, and it started to get very intense during COVID, and it hasn't relented, which is the government and the corporations getting into bed together, and corporations willingly doing what governments are not allowed to do, and doing it for government benefit, and that's what we saw with TikTok. That's what we saw with the Twitter files when we found out that, Biden couldn't just cancel you. So he calls up his buddy Zuckerberg and says, hey, this guy is really questioning these shots. You got to get rid of him. So I worry about that. So I think the broader space we can carve out for personal liberty and to do what we wish. Some of us, if we had the other half of our money and we didn't have the government breathing down our necks, we could spend more money and time on our religious attractions, people, things of that are important to us. So we can do whatever we wish with those things, but I think the key is to reduce the power of government.
Yeah. Now we're going to get to some of your super chats. Any questions that you have for Dan McAdams, please send them to thebacklash.net/super chat. We've already got a couple. I have a couple last minute questions that I'm thinking about, which is, what is your take? What is Dr. Paul's take on what we're seeing happening in Chicago, LA, Portland, with the ICE facilities, the ICE raids that seem to be happening? There's a lot of activity. I know Portland over the weekend, there was a detachment from Coeur d'Alene that went out to Portland and started raising some hell. What's going on here? Is this like an attempt for the Trump administration to try to incite the left and to try and make like a mass scale riot? Or do you think that this is genuine and they're actually
organic,
trying to crack?
right?
Yeah, because there's a lot of different competing things. I've seen a lot of corruption charges thrown around when talking about like the police in Portland or in LA. What's your take on this situation?
Well, I mean, certainly, our founding fathers did not foresee having a federal army that could be certainly deployed against the United States of America, citizens of the United States of America. So I think this is a massive overreach. It's an unconstitutional overreach. I mean, Patrick Henry himself, and there's a great piece by Ryan McMakin on the Mises Institute website that was out, I think, a couple of days ago about this problem that we have. Now, the problem that makes it sticky for us, we talked about this today on our Liberty Report show, is that a lot of people on the right that we may sympathize with. I mean, when I saw what was happening in Portland, and I saw these Antifa guys getting cracked over the head, I was like, yes, bring my son in here. Take a look at this. This is awesome. Like replay. So when they burned down the town with this Floyd fellow, it's terrible. But I also think it was meant, part of it, that emotional response that it elicited in us is now being used against us to normalize the idea that you can have military. He owes the Department of War, not just National Guard, but a federal standing army that could be deployed against Americans wherever he wishes. And I think that's an extraordinarily dangerous thing. And I was actually, I mentioned this on the show, my good friend, Judge Andrew Napolitano had one of the most astute observers, Alistair Crook, on his show today as we speak, and they discussing this crazy speech that Stephen Miller gave, and sort of a lot of memes on X, like they put it in German and say it sounds better than the original.
That was funny.
But when Alistair Crook, who was a British, he was a British diplomat in the Middle East, and that was back in the day when you spoke all the languages that you were, representing, et cetera, et cetera. But he made a very interesting point. He said this is sort of the Israelification of the United States.
Yes.
Because Israel doesn't have a federalist society. They don't have a separation of the military and a sort of a civil police force. Everything is all put together, and it's always alles gegen alles, right? It's like, if you're not with us, we will destroy you. And that's what we're seeing. So I think that's a real danger. We're adopting this mindset, and it's probably a propaganda, it's probably a psyop being used against us, to accept the Israelification of our society, even if rejecting it has some downsides, which of course it does. You're not going to see me praising Antifa. On the contrary. In fact, I went to UC Berkeley. When I saw Antifa go on campus and attacking the free speech people on Berkeley, I thought, these guys have lost the plot. So it's a very complicated thing.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention. I just forgot one. I'm remembering the first one that I mentioned, which was that the 2020 riots, I don't think we have the full readout or transparency over what happened there. There's a big part of me that is extremely suspicious about things like, was it CHOP or Chaz or whatever they called it? These riots, these places that were burning down, this was happening in opportunity zones. Almost 9 times out of 10, they were these federal opportunity zones where developers and real estate moguls can get a crap ton of federal money to build new things, to build businesses, to build new skyscrapers and whatnot. And it was just like, wait a minute, are they using Antifa to devalue these neighborhoods?
Yes.
So that vulture capitalists can swoop in, buy up the property? So it's not about George Floyd. This is a real estate play disguised as revolutionary activity, basically. And so I just wanted to point that out. I don't know if you'd heard of...
That's a great point. Yeah, I've heard some of that. That's a great point. The Larry Ellisons of the world swoop in, and there you go.
Yeah.
You can no longer buy a house; you have to lease your house.
Yeah. Well, and relating back to that, you talk about this Israelification of the United States. Where did the knee on the neck thing come from in the first place? I don't think we've ever really talked about that on this show. The whole knee on the neck that supposedly killed George Floyd. He died of a drug overdose. Maybe they'll listen now. But the knee on the neck thing, that was taught to American law enforcement by Israel. We've talked about that on this program a lot, how Israel trains a lot of our FBI, our sheriff's departments. There's
our local sheriff's department.
JINSA, the
right.
Jewish Intelligence, National Security, whatever, blah, 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 JINSA. But there's also this kind of element happening where, I would imagine, I wasn't alive back then, but I would imagine that like back in the 1950s, you would have people that grow up in a town, they want to be a cop, they want to protect and serve their community, they graduate high school, they go to the academy, they become police, they live in their town, they, swing around a beat stick, you know what I mean? They walk up and down Main Street. Nowadays, we have this kind of Israelicization that's happening, I guess, where we're getting some of the most brutal people from New York or Philly that then move to these rural towns and they become cops there. They have no ties to the community. They don't give a shit. They just want to crack skulls. Mm-hmm. And the same kind of thing happens in Israel where these Americans get propagandized through, the Jewish Defense League or Beitar or the Canary Mission. They think that it's like some existential crisis. They leave, they go to Israel. They have no connection to the people there, no background, and they just start cracking skulls, shooting kids in the back of the head, and doing all kinds of stuff. So I think it's a great point that you make. Yeah.
A lot of that started with the militarization of the police, the federal government giving out surplus tanks. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I live in a small town like Jackson. I think they got a tank. Like what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, the
big problem here is like people being drunk and running red lights. A tank is not going to help you with that.
Yeah, I remember when we had those in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, we had this big block party thing that would happen at the university. And every year all the kids would get together and they'd go drinking on Light Street. And I remember it was like 2003, maybe like 2005. They like rolled up in a fucking Bearcat wearing bulletproof armor. And they like rolled up on this giant college party and started shooting canisters of tear gas.
Why?
And it's like, it's drunk college kids.
They're not doing anything.
You don't need a tank to take on drunk college kids. What's wrong with you people? And anyway.
Government overreach. If you are amenable to it, we do have a few audience questions.
Yes.
Sure. I've got a couple minutes left.
Let's see. We've got Book Track Groove sent $10. Daniel McAdams, do you believe monarchy is returning, meaning many kings? Have you ridden a horse?
Have you spoken to Corey Muller?
I should have read that before.
I don't know who Corey Muller is. I rode a horse when I was 12, and I got I'm philosophically I'm a pro monarchy person.
Interesting.
That comes from my interest in the Habsburgs, but also from reading Hans Hermann Hoppe about monarchism being a better form of government than democracy. But do I think it will return anywhere? Unfortunately, the people from all the noble families in Europe are all, for the most part, brain dead now. So I wouldn't want them to return. That probably was always the case. So it's sort of a pie in the sky idea. But the idea that you pass down the realm to your progeny means that you're going to do your best not to screw it up. You're not going to have a prolific spender. You're not going to start stupid wars. Now, it has happened in history, but there's also the chance that you will be killed by your people. Regicide is throughout history. So, I think you're going to protect. Look, these knuckleheads get elected for 2 years in Congress. What's their incentive? Get as much as you can before you are voted out, man. Do as much as you can. But if you're responsible for giving this title to your children, you're going to try to preserve it as much as you can.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. We went through a phase here in Kootenai County where the local Zionist church was accusing everyone that they really thought was anti-Semitic. They were accusing them of, you're a monarchist. Because they wanted any excuse other than calling an anti-Semite,
Right.
And by the way, I watched, I don't know if you saw, but that little video that I did, which I think I'm going to post on all of our Spotify and our actual podcast things. has angered the local Zionist church so much that they spent Wednesday night talking about me and the little podcast that I did, and Sunday.
Oh, great.
So we got a 2-for-1, and they are now at the point where they have lost the plot so much. They're like, yeah, the Jews are evil, and they're antichrist, and they're blind, and they're wrong, and they're into gay stuff. But if you don't support them, you're an anti-Semite.
Wow.
That's where we're at right
That's
now.
the evangelical position these
Unbelievable.
days.
Okay, Queensboro Bridge enjoyer sent $10. As Colonel McGregor said, Ron Paul led the way, and we are all just following along. By we, I mean anyone discussing neocons, Israeli control of D.C., the Fed, Big Brother, spying, and foreign wars. Dr. Paul was a lone voice in the wilderness for decades on these issues, influencing millions. Long live the Ron Paul Institute. And he sent a second super chat saying, Daniel is correct. During the ratification debate, it was promised that the Supreme Court would not rule on state law. The Supreme Court gave itself that authority over the years with one terrible decision after another. There is no going back to something that has been broken for so long. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, Dr. Paul often says it. It may be an absolute monetary collapse that will cause us to reset, recalibrate our system. He says he hopes it won't happen, that people will wake up and see, and he believes that people are waking up, even on some of the issues that we've talked about, are waking up and seeing the light. But at the end of the day, it does look more and more like, and this is what Colonel McGregor says quite often as well, it looks like an absolute economic catastrophe will be the only thing that makes Americans wake up and say, hey, we can't sustain $37 trillion in debt. We can't spend trillions of dollars just servicing our debt. I don't know about you guys. When I went to college, I got my first credit card and I was like, yes, this is awesome. And I started charging cool stuff, like some cool boots, and then all of a sudden I got, the bill and I was like, oh crap, this is no fun at all. So our nation is like that on steroids.
Oh, yes.
All right, well, we've got some other super chats, but I don't think any of them rise to the level of dignity of actually asking you. We will be reading all of the super chats in just a moment. We've also got some ads, and we're not going to subject you to those, but please tell everybody where they can find you, follow you, and your work.
Sure. Well, the Ron Paul Institute is at ronpaulinstitute.org. We publish 2 or 3 articles every day that we curate and think that these are the things you should be reading. So we don't take too much of your time, but these are things that I read closely as well. Daily, Monday through Friday, we do the Ron Paul Liberty Report live at noon. For the moment, we're live on Rumble. We may go back to YouTube. That's another story. And also the Ron Paul Institute, one of the things we do, as we mentioned to the show, is bring people together. We have conferences. We do 2 or 3 of them a year. We just finished one. Our DC conference is usually in the summer. It was a massive success. We had Colonel McGregor was there. We had Professor Jeffrey Sachs there. We had Max Blumenthal there. It was a tremendous event, but also not just the speakers, but for people getting together and getting to know each other. Guys, I think this is one way we can defeat the monster and the machine out there, is we have to get to know each other in a sort of a non-digital way. We have to go back to the analog world where you know someone and you can trust someone. And that's what we try to do. Building communities is what we try to do through our conferences.
That's awesome. And don't forget, you can follow him on X at Daniel L. McAdams. Thank you so much for joining us. This was great.
We really appreciate the time. Thank you. You have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was great. See, I told you it'd be a good guest.
Of course.
Oh, man. That was great. I really, the Ron Paul guys have come along such a far way from the old days. It's really great. And it's also nice to see that they're not swatting down, you know, like so many of these people, Heritage Foundation, all these different, think tanks, and, they look at people like us and they're like, get the fuck out of here. Shut up. You're extremists, blah, blah, blah. Not Ron Paul.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah. Always loved Ron Paul.
He also, remember Vince was talking about when I guess he went to visit him once in Texas, and he had a giant picture of the USS Liberty hung up in his office.
Seriously?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Fantastic.
Yeah, very good. All right, we've got a couple of super chats.
Some of them I just couldn't read to him.
I just don't understand this one, man. I love you so much. Book Track Cruise for $10. Daniel McAdams, do you think we can build colleges from scratch for us? Weed is liberal. Tobacco is based engineer. Odds anyone that continues to use weed does not go well. I know a guy that grows.
Okay, that I understand that perfectly.
I don't know.
Smoking weed is a leftist. It's a leftist thing to do.
Yes.
It destroys your motivation. You just want to listen to music and do nothing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we've said it before, nicotine is the right-wing drug.
Get yours at knickknack.com.
Do not sponsor us. Stop it.
They will.
Okay,
when I
Dave-
get done with them.
Dave wants sponsors so much that he'll just start hawking products that like we have no association with, like hoping that they'll see it and be like, oh yeah, we'll sponsor you.
Look at how sweaty I look right now.
Why are
This
you
is
so
awful.
sweaty?
I don't know. We're doing this weird, like the interim thing where we're leaving summer, we're going into like the fall. It's cold outside, but I'm like internally hot. And so I'm just like sweating and then I get cold and it's not
I've said
good.
it before and I'll say it again. I hate Italians.
Hey, watch it. Watch it. The Winged Hussar sent $20. Love the show and great guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the big super chat, Gladius.
I forgot to
5.
mention it, you guys. My YouTube channel got monetized. You can send super. I cannot even believe it.
How do we?
It makes me think that Dave actually is a Fed. Because how did this happen? I got demonetized like a few months into my YouTube channel that I started in January 2016. I just applied for an appeal, or I just appealed. That's redundant, right? Applying for an appeal. Yeah, it is redundant. I appealed, I don't know, on a whim. And I was in progress for 3.5 months. And I was like, this is never going to go anywhere. And then I get an email. You have been approved for YouTube partners.
Based.
Now, I don't want you guys to get used to it because this is not going to last long because I have no interest in not saying things that are going to get me demonetized.
We're going to do what we do.
We're going to keep doing exactly what we're going to do.
But yeah, you know, I have my handlers at CIA put in a good word for you.
I know.
Yeah.
I know that's what's going on here. And I kind of don't care.
Based
So if you guys
CIA.
want to send super chats to my YouTube channel, you can.
Please do.
Please
we
do.
appreciate it. I also work for the FSB.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm paid by Qatar and Iran.
Oh,
So-
okay. How does that?
All of them. I do all of them.
They all give you the money.
Yeah, I'm like a super fed.
$7,000 per post.
Now, I don't have the Israel sponsorship yet.
What's the point then, man?
I don't know. Gladius 5 sent $5. But whether the Constitution really be one thing or another, this much is certain. It has either authorized such a government as we have had or been powerless to stop it. In either case, it's unfit to exist. Lysander Spooner. That's a
Spooner.
great... Who's that? I
If
don't
you
know who that
guys
is.
do not listen to the great legal man at U.S. Crime Review on Twitter, he has done a Spooner, an infinity part Spooner breakdown on his podcast, The Quash, that is excellent. Please check out Legal Man. I'm going to try to get him on.
Oh, that'd be good. I've never talked to him.
Oh, he's just the best.
Yeah. Didn't you do the interview with him at my house?
Yeah, that
back
was
in the
like-
day? That was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Was it really? It was after I
Maybe
had
5
a
years.
baby.
Yeah, I think it was after you had the first one.
Then it was 5 years ago.
That was a long time ago. Jeez, wow, how the time flies. We're getting old. This is not good. Do we have any super chats that I missed on YouTube? I don't think we do, but I guess you have a moment to send in any last minute super chats while we talk about the end of the economy. It's bad. It's not good. Gold, of course, is up today. $65. Holy shit.
Seriously?
Yeah, we're going to be hitting $4,000 on gold probably by like the end of today at the rate that we're going. Silver, $48. It's crazy. Let me pull up where's the chart? Where's the chart? Look at this thing. This is just out of control. That's the 2-year.
Look
There's
at
the 1
Bitcoin.
month.
Don't talk about it.
Ooh, what's this?
Don't.
Oh, look at that.
I can't. You know,
I'm talking about Bitcoin today, okay? Just give me a
you
minute.
sell a
Buy
house.
gold and silver at atlasbullion.com/backlash. They've got silver subscriptions as low as $55, gold subscriptions as low as $200. You can get diverse subscriptions with gold and silver. They've also got plans for your little ones called Little Legends. They've got legacy builders. You can roll over your IRA 401k. Just whatever you do, get some frickin' gold. Take custody of it. Have it in your hands because the economy is screwed. And one of the ways that we know that the economy is screwed is because of what's happening with Bitcoin. Bitcoin Bitcoin, of course, is like gone absolutely through the fucking moon, as I showed you on this chart.
I would like to say what
It is
Cameron
at-
said in our Telegram chat, that
It is
the
at-
trend is your friend
Until it's not.
until the end.
I'm just saying, if you had started, when did we start the show?
Stop giving people FOMO.
When did we start the show? We were definitely doing it by April of this year. It is now up 50%. If you had been listening to us and dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, you would definitely be up a lot. And you can do that by going to River Bitcoin, river.com. We have a link on our website that you can go to under affiliate links. If you want to buy Bitcoin, we do get like a $5 kickback. Wow, geez, a whole $5 kickback. And then, of course, if you have Bitcoin that you need to secure and get off the exchanges because they will sell you fake Bitcoin unless you take custody of it, you need to buy a hardware wallet. And the one from Blockstream, the Jade Plus, is absolutely fantastic, open source, impregnable. It is a Swiss bank account in your pocket. And of course, if you use our link, we will get paid a small modicum of money. We also have to thank Idaho Tallow Company. It is skincare without endocrine disruptors. If you are tired of skincare packed with chemicals you can't pronounce, North Idaho Tallow Company might be for you. They keep it simple with grass-fed tallow, time-tested ingredients, and zero junk. Our soaps, balms, and lip balm are packed with bioavailable nutrients your skin actually needs. No fillers, no endocrine disruptors, just rugged, reliable skincare that works. Ditch the synthetic garbage and switch to North Idaho Tallow. Get yours at idahotallow.com. And we have to give a big shout out to Antelope Hill Publishing. They are fighting to keep history alive against the regime of anti-white censorship and to publish a new generation of dissident, radical, and right-wing researchers, philosophers, polemicists, and writers. They have an eclectic catalog that includes veteran right-wing authors and academics like Kerry Bolton, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, and Paul Kersey, as well as newer figures like Lord Miles Routledge of Afghanistan, Josh Neal, and Christian Secor, in addition to a long list of original translations or modern reprints of otherwise inaccessible historical works from eras such as fascist Italy, National Socialist Germany, and even medieval Europe. Their original works include groundbreaking investigations into the causes and funding behind transgenderism and the opioid crisis, books on Christian nationalism and American folktales. Additionally, Antelope Hill contributes to the regeneration of our culture and rebirth of our family values through their top-quality fiction, including books like Let Them Look West and Worlds Separated, and a collection of beautifully illustrated and wholesome children's books. Whatever your interest is, you're bound to find books that you like at Antelope Hill, all professionally published and with cover art that will grace your bookshelves. Help us and help our people by checking out companies that share our values and work to preserve the birthright of our history. Visit antelopehillpublishing.com.
We have one more super chat that just came through.
We do we? Very, very interesting. Where did it come through? Hold on. It's okay. Dead air is fine. Don't be afraid of dead air.
No, I keep worrying that I'm going to see a kid fall over the
railing?
Yeah.
No, it'll be fine. Reinhardt sent $10 that I missed. I've come to the conclusion over the years that all of my core principles are both hierarchical and conditional. If adherence to a certain principle threatens something higher in my value system, like family or honor, then I will violate it when necessary.
That is the way to be. Yeah.
That sounds logical to me.
Yeah. That is exactly. Reinhardt is so insightful.
I can't read that one. We're not hooked up to your YouTube, so you got to read your super chats.
Thunderstorm said all European countries are occupied. That includes Russia. Left, right is a Skinner box. P.S. I like the glass pumpkin. I thought he was saying I like your glasses, pumpkin, but he's talking about the glass pumpkin.
Yeah, no. Dan McAdams actually posted about this earlier today, didn't he? Where did it go?
Thunderstorm. That is the first super chat I've had on my channel ever. Because I got banned.
Yeah, look, right here.
Before super chats.
1 hour ago. Right before. This is like what he tweeted right before going on our show. Just disappointing. Putin and Israel's Netanyahu just held a phone call. They discussed the Trump Gaza plan, talked stabilizing Syria and a negotiated solution to Iran's nuclear program. Netanyahu wished Putin on the eve of his birthday. There is a Russo-Israeli thing. Chabad. I think we can just put one word on it. Chabad exists. It's a problem. Chabad. And it's going to be so interesting to see what happens over the next 48 hours.
Yeah.
Whether there's some sort of false flag or just the sheer propaganda campaign that happens. But this October 7th stuff is going to be big over the next 24 to 48 hours. We're probably going to do a big show.
On
big
Wednesday.
show, tremendous, like nothing you've ever seen before.
Good. We got to catch some viral topic because our show last week is doing terribly.
Really? Which one? We did 3.
Oh, the Wednesday show is actually doing the worst.
Really? Oh, that's odd.
Oh, I got a sneeze coming.
Do we got more super chat?
Oh, so Hook said, I like your glasses, pumpkin. Ha ha.
Nice. Will it into existence.
I appreciate that. All right. We will see you guys on Wednesday. For all of our links, go to the backlash.net. Follow us on X at Real Backlash. We have a great show in store for you. We'll see you the day after tomorrow. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.